What's going on, everybody? This is your boy Damon Jenkins, aka Coach Jenkins. My profession is I'm a life coach, I'm a trainer. My job is to focus on imperfections that are not allowing you to be successful in life to help you become successful in life. Holla at your boy. Let's change the world together. Let's focus on our ins and outs together. Holla at your boy. So the name of my company really just after my last name, which is Coach Jenkins. I have a catchphrase that I follow up with, which is understand your greatness. And really that came from just for me, my whole thing is it's better to understand versus just know. So there's power in understanding. So for example, I like to use the analogy of a math teacher. So a math teacher may give you the equation to a problem, and most people put it in a calculator. Well, the problem is with the calculator, it only gives you the answer. It doesn't give you how you got to the answer. So once you break it down, you actually see how you got to the answer. That helps you better understand the answer to that question, which in return allows you to move on to the next question, right? So once you understand, that actually gives you a little bit more power and a little bit more confidence within yourself. So for me, I'm big on the phrase of understanding. Knowing is half the battle, but the moment you understand the battle is the moment that you become more powerful, the moment you become more successful, and the moment you stop allowing certain things to happen in your life. Man, I've been doing this for a while. I actually started in, I believe, 2012 or 13. I actually started off a company was called JNC. It was Jenkins and Crawley Training. We actually started off training in Visalia. We started off back that way because that's where Crawley, at the time, one of my business partners, we were working at. We decided just to venture off out there. And then I moved forward a few years later. I ended up moving back. I was already living in Fresno, but I just started training in Fresno. Actually worked with a company at the time called T1 Sports Academy. My job in that was really just to focus on the mental part of it, the life coaching, the academic part of things, just the off the field stuff, the more the mental part of things. I've always had the training background just due to the fact that I played at De La Salle. My strength and conditioning coach at the time was Mike Blasquez, which was currently the head strength and conditioning coach at Cal University. He oversees everything at Cal University. I had my track coach, Coach Ward. So I had a lot of influences. My boy, Nate Kenyon, he did Kenyon training. So through those influences that I've, been able to come across in my life, I had the training background, but for me, I wanted to focus more on the mental aspect. That's what I feel is lacking in a lot of individuals nowadays, is they're so focused on the actual sport, but they're not focused on the mental part of things. Because the more mental toughness you have in your life, the more successful you become, because life is full of ups and downs. Life is full of trials and tribulations. And in order for you to get through those trials and tribulations, you got to have some form of mental toughness. So for me, I wanted to focus more on that stuff. But fast forward years later, now I'm here. I branched off. Now I'm doing my own thing, Coach Jenkins Training, which I'm kind of incorporating both the life coaching as well as the training. So, yeah. Really, growing up, I was raised by a single mom. My dad was in and out of my life. My dad had his own trials and tribulations. So for me, I never really had a consistent role model in my life. Until I got to De La Salle, where I had, those coaching staffs, which, they constantly spoke life into me. But as I started to get older and started to see which field I really wanted to go in, it was working with youth, because a lot of adults have a lot of same issues that kids have nowadays. So for me, I felt that speaking life into the youth now, as they get older, it'll be a better transition. Right. So I never had anybody speak life into me. I never had anybody tell me, consistently, Damon, you're going to be successful because of this, or Damon, you can do this, or Damon, you can control anything or be successful in anything in life as long as you put your mind to it. And so for me, my goal in life was that's what I wanted to do. I want motivational speaking. I want to speak life into kids and let them know that you really can do anything you put your mind to. Don't listen to the world, because the world will tell you things that you can't do. And if you choose to believe that, then you won't do it. But if you constantly believe in yourself and you constantly believe in your ability to be successful, that's what it's about. So just working with kids and then venturing off, those kids become adults, and I love that field. Like, I love it. Stressful at times because they're kids and they don't necessarily understand, but the reward is when those kids go off to college and come back and they're like, yo, Coach Jenkins, what you said to me a few years ago, I'm starting to understand why you were the way you were with me. I'm starting to understand the things that you're telling me now that I didn't understand it back then. So the risk versus the reward, I see it later on down the road. So for me, it's just in order. I love speaking life into kids, and I love seeing the results of it as they go down in their life. So everything. I mean, if you want to reach me, it's Coach Jenkins 210. I'm on Instagram, on Facebook. My email is actually coachjenkins210@gmail.com. Those are some of the ways that you can get a hold of me. Those are my primary contacts. I mean, I have a Twitter page, but my Twitter page is mainly for helping kids get recruited, not necessarily for training. But the majority of where you can get in touch with me is through my Instagram and my Facebook, which is Coach Jenkins Training. Well, I currently train out of 2 different locations. I currently train out of my backyard. I actually just put down some turf in my backyard to kind of, help with the traveling situation for certain individuals, so that, if I have my Fresno kids, they can travel to my house because I'm currently in Fresno. Then I have the Clovis kids that I work with. I actually train at Bicentennial Park. So I have 2 locations that I train at, just to kind of accommodate those who live in Fresno and those who live in Clovis. So again, I train out my house, and I also train at Bicentennial Park. Just to give a little bit of background about me. I grew up in North Oakland, California. Again, I was raised by a single mom. My dad was in the picture, but again, he had his own trials and tribulations, so he wasn't necessarily there every single day. So my mom, she moved me and my sister from Oakland to Concord, which I was blessed with the opportunity to go to De La Salle High School. I was there. I never lost a high school football game. Then from there, I went on to play at Fresno State, played there for 4 years. Then from that, I had a brief stint with the Cleveland Browns, as well as the San Jose SaberCats, as well as the Spokane Shock. After that happened, my playing career actually came to an end once my mom got sick with skin cancer. My responsibility shifted a little bit. So my main focus became my mom versus playing sports. That's really where I realized, kind of where my philosophy comes from, as far as when I tell kids, you have to be stingy with your energy. Because if you have your energy in so many different places, you actually can't focus on the things that you actually need to focus on. So during that time, my mom was sick. I was actually driving from Oakland to Concord to Fresno, back to Fresno to Stanford. I was driving all over the place, and I was also driving to San Jose trying to play. And that's when I realized I couldn't do it all. I couldn't just focus just on football. And that's where ultimately I actually eliminated football out of my life, just to transition into just taking care of my mom and just being there for her. I actually have a 7-on-7 team, which is, branched off from one of my best friends in the Bay Area. It's called Central Valley KT Prep. So I do that. Majority of everything that I do is just surrounded by kids, working with kids. That's really my passion. It doesn't pay a whole lot. I think a lot of people think they get in this business and it's like, okay, I'm gonna make $1 million off, training young athletes, or make $1 million off just working with. No, I want to see kids be successful. I want to give kids the opportunity that was never given to me. I want kids to be able to believe in themselves. We live in a society nowadays where kids feel that their value exists on the internet, when it's not true at all. Your value exists in you. Like, the fact that you're on this earth brings value to the earth, because we're all different individuals. We all bring something to this life that can't be duplicated. I think once kids figure that out, I think the more, happier kids will be. And I think the more, successful kids will want to be. I think sometimes we follow this trend of, I need to be just like this person. Nah, God made you who you were. You're a successful individual within your own. So, that's one of the main reasons why I love working with kids. So I'll go each level. So if you're transitioning from high school to college, the work don't stop, which means you got to hit an extra gear. Right. So high school is one level, but then college is another level, which means you're going to start to mature mentally and physically, which means your work ethic has to intensify even that much more. Don't just be comfortable with, I play college, or I'm a D1 athlete or D2 athlete, whatever the case may be. You still got to keep working. Don't ever get comfortable. The moment you get comfortable, the moment you lose your spot. Now, if you're going from D1 to playing in the NFL, now that's another level that you got to take it to, which means your work ethic has to intensify even more, which means you have to limit even more distractions. Again, I'm going to use the phrase, be stingy with your energy. Not everybody or everything requires your energy. Hone in on that goal and focus on that goal and let everybody know that's around you that, hey, this is what my priorities are. And if they don't fit into your priorities, there's no disrespect, but this is what you're trying to achieve. If you're trying to be successful at making it to the NFL. So I have to eliminate all the distractions. And then, once you finish with playing in the NFL, I mean, really, you find what you're passionate about and what you love. But you start that as you're transitioning into the NFL. And hell, I mean, even before you even get to the NFL in college, you start having an idea of the things that you like to do and want to do. So then when it's all said and done, you can just fall into that field that you want to work in. The question I get asked a lot is, what's the benefit of training with Coach Jenkins? I mean, really everything. My focus isn't just really on the actual drills. I mean, my focus is actually on the individuals that are working with me. I want to see them grow mentally. I want to see them grow physically. And through those workouts, we acknowledge the trials and tribulations that we will have to face in life. I think a lot of people forget that in order for you to be successful, you have to go through something. I think people think that everything's supposed to be peachy and cream, or the moment something becomes hard, we stop. My goal is to teach people to either run through the wall or find a way over that wall, so that wall is not it's not a discouragement to you. It's actually something where it's like you see that wall and it's like, okay, I need to get motivated as to how can I go through this wall, or how can I get over the wall, not how I see this wall, let me go back the other way. And I think a lot of people fail to realize that. Like, life is really about trials and tribulations. It's about persevering. It's about believing in yourself in a world where people tell you that you're always wrong, or failures gets more prioritized than your successes. But it's important that we celebrate not only the grand opening of someone's life, but we also celebrate the anniversaries. And the anniversaries are just more important because the toughest thing about life is being consistent. It's hard because once you reach one milestone, now everybody's expecting you to constantly keep meeting extra milestones. So it's important that, yes, when people start something, yes, it's all, and celebrate those things. But when they continue meeting different milestones, make sure you meet them there. And you constantly keep meeting them there, so they know that you believe in that individual no matter what. And I think that's what people miss. Just because a kid doesn't go play D1 football, soccer, or baseball does not mean that you forget about their milestones in life. Whether it's, okay, if a person chooses not to finish the sport in college, if they go open up a business or they go work a regular 9-to-5 job, those are still things that we should be celebrating. And that's one thing about me. And when you train with me, you're going to get all those things. It's not necessarily about the drill. I care about the person you are. I care about how you're doing mentally and physically. I care about your successes. I care about your failures. Overall, I just want to see the individuals that work with me be successful, but also understand that there will be failures, and failing is not a bad thing all the time. Failure actually helps you learn. Failure actually teaches you how to get up and say, all right, I got knocked down, but I'm going to keep getting up. That's what life is. Life is full of perseverance. Life is full of adversity. And we got to learn to work through it and not just give up at the moment something gets hard. Not just give up because that's the easy thing to do. But remember something. When you give up, that's a lifelong regret. That sits with us more than anything. And so that's my goal, is to teach kids that don't give up. Give it all you got. And when you give it all you got to the very end, if you need to reevaluate it, then reevaluate at the very end. But don't just give up at the sight of a failure. Don't just give up at the sight of, oh, I don't know if I can do this or not. No, the words I can't should be taken out of your vocabulary, and the words I can should be put into your vocabulary. Other than, the motivation being my kids and my sister, my main motivation is my mom. I watch my mom work, multiple jobs, single parent. I watch her, make sure she showed up to everything me and my sister had. But I also watch my mom fight cancer. And I actually watch her battle through that. That was probably one of the toughest times in my life, because I had to treat my mom like a business and not so much as my mom. And what I mean by that is, when I had to treat my mom like a business, I had to take the emotion out of the decision making. And so a lot of people don't understand, when you're watching your mom battle a life-threatening illness and you can't cry. You can't show any emotion, because the moment you show her emotion is the moment she feels that she's failed. That was probably one of the toughest parts of helping my mom, is I couldn't show any emotion. I couldn't cry. I couldn't tell her, you know, that this is going to be hard without having her here in life, because on this earth. Because if I told her that, I knew that would weaken her and that would make her feel less than. So during my mom, when she was battling the skin cancer, my whole thing was, be strong. Don't show an emotion. Don't cry. Be that strong individual that she needed me to be, so that she knew that when she did pass on, that I was going to be able to manage and be and hold my own here on this earth. But that was one of the toughest times of my life, because I had to watch her go through it. One of the toughest things is the doctor came into the office one day, and the doctor said, hey, if she goes into a coma, do you want to resuscitate her? Do you want her resuscitated? And my mom doesn't even answer. She looks up at me, and she left it for me to answer, right? Which is one of the toughest things in my life. Because in my mind, I'm like, hey, heck yeah, I want her to resuscitate. I want my mom to keep fighting. But I also knew it was more about the quality of life versus just being selfish. So I remember telling the doctor, like, no, if she does go into a coma, don't bring her out of it. And so a lot of people don't understand, like, my mom was my best friend, and I have to tell a doctor that. And I have to tell that doctor that with no emotion attached to it. It was really tough. And so during that time period, my mom was told multiple times. I would get a phone call in the middle of the night, hey, your mom may not make it through the night. But guess what? She made it through the night. She kept fighting. She kept fighting. There was a point where they said, your mom will never be able to stand up again. Guess what? She stood up again. She started walking around the hospital. And so for me, my motivation is just watching her defeat the odds during that time where they kept telling her what she couldn't do, or what she wasn't going to do, or, hey, she's not going to make it through the night, or different things that they kept telling her, but she kept defeating the odds. She kept battling. She kept battling. So for me, I don't have any excuse. I watched my mom take her last breath, and I watched her fight taking her last breath. So for me, when you talk about fighting, when you talk about battling, I do that every day. I got a lot of internal scars that people don't know about, but I know from learning from her that I got to fight to the very end. I'm going to fight until there's nothing left into me. I'm going to fight because that's what she taught me to do. She taught me to do that without even telling me, but just watching her and observing her fight the good fight. That's basically what I do. Basically is why I do what I do. To answer your question, I mean, my future goals is really, I would love to open up a center that encompasses everything, not just training, but things that revolve around life skills, things that revolve around special needs individuals. I actually do have an older sister who is special needs, and I would like to add that to the actual facility, to where they can go in there and have different places to be, where they don't have to go to a GB3 or a Planet Fitness to go work out, that they can actually work out in the facility. They can do different jobs within this facility. And then also too, have attachments to that facility where, our kids that don't become D1 athletes, they can go right into a business that's in our facility and go work and help out and be successful at it. I also want to travel the world speaking. That's always been a main goal of mine. I've always wanted to be a motivational speaker. I've always just wanted to go and speak life to every individual that I come across. So that's really that's really one of my major goals, is to do that. Get out on the road and speak, whether it's in Oakland, whether it's in Stockton, whether it's whatever. That's just one thing, that's one of the major things that I want to do. So open up a center, and then also open up, or not necessarily open up, but go travel and do motivational speaking and help implement curriculums that's based off understanding. Again, I think people underestimate the power of understanding. I mean, knowing, yes, knowledge is power, but understanding the knowledge that is being given to you is even more powerful. So once people understand that, I think you'll start to see these young males and young females that actually start to prosper and be more successful.